This is for Eleanor Clift and the McLaughlin Group, especially Eleanor, who has said that NATO will never be disbanded, and she also had said that Congress will never be fully investigated, or that there was no reason to investigate Congress. Entirely missing the point. Let's take NATO first. George Washington said in his farewell address that we should not be favoring or disfavoring any nation. We should pay down the debt in peacetime we incur during war, and that we should not get involved in foreign entanglements. Ron Paul is saying we have 900 bases overseas that cost us $1 trillion a year, which is all of the money that IRS takes in a year, and that we can't afford them. He also separates the defense of the United States from the military empire that we have created externally. And Washington said we should not have any permanent foreign military alliances, especially with European powers. And this is over 200 years ago from the man who beat the British, that helped write the Constitution with Jefferson and the others. And I would think his words hold more water than Eleanor's or John McLaughlin's. In any case, I'm specifically talking about Eleanor. NATO was the first permanent military alliance with European powers created in 1949. It did not exist during World War II. It did not beat the Nazis. And we support it 65%, and it recently was bombing Libya, which the Israelis had framed into making us think had blown up the jet at Lockerbie, and you can find that in Victor Ostrovsky's first book, By Way of Deception. He also has that the Israeli Mossad has their top spies here under deep cover with fake passports coming in from Montreal and Toronto, who have got on the cocktail circuits in Washington, D.C. and New York to collect sex scandals for U.S. congressmen, drug scandals, money scandals, which they use along with the Israeli lobby, the biggest lobby in D.C., to routinely blackmail, bribe, and coerce congressmen to support Israel. Ostrovsky says that the Mossad considers the only honest congressman one who, once he's bald, stays bald, and everyone knows that Lieberman is one of the major advocates for bombing Iran, along with McCain, and that some of these senators are bought and paid for. So what right does Eleanor have to say that, first of all, that we don't need a congressional investigation of Congress? If you look at who the Israeli lobby is giving money to, some people they're giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to. And if you track down who the Israeli lobby is financing, including Senator Inhofe in Oklahoma, who I think Alvin Dworman, a Jewish billionaire in New York, is giving money to. And the guy is, when you look at the roadblock Republicans, and then you realize the right wing has a hit out on Obama, and the Israeli Mossad has a hit out on Obama, that they don't want peace, they want war, unconditional surrender. That if you look at Traficant's complaint on Greta Van Susteren and on YouTube, he's saying the House and the Senate are under deep control of Israel. He doesn't realize exactly how, but he knows under control. When you look at Ostrovsky and put it together, it's definitely under the control of the Israelis. And when Netanyahu came over here to object to Obama's pre-67 orders for Israel with land swaps, Congress immediately put 7 sanctions on Iran and is getting ready to increase the sanctions in July, at which point Iran could shut down the Straits of Hormuz by simply sinking a tanker there. And they have 11,000 rockets, conventional warheads from the from the Russians, with which they can shoot down Israeli jets. So someone is selling Israel 23 stealth bombers and Saudi Arabia F-15s, I think 83 or 86 F-15s, to help attack the Iranians, with 47 bases around Iran, which we told Saddam to invade in 1980, which the CIA, with Schwarzkopf's father in it, killed their democratically elected president in '53, accusing him of being a communist. And if you look at the Allen Dulles CIA chief hiring 4,000 Nazis and General Galen in 1947 to work against the Russians, and the Israelis coming over and infiltrating the CIA and with thousands of friends in all the major cities, and controlling the media in North America, you would have to then put it all together and kind of look at Eleanor Clift as either a dupe of the Mossad or a mouthpiece for them. If Washington didn't think we should have permanent foreign military alliance, and we can't afford it anymore, and it's killing babies accidentally and children in Afghanistan, why not disband it and bring the boys home, close down the bases? I would, since the Chinese want an empire, I'm not afraid of the Chinese. Sell them these bases, and if you sold them, say, $1 trillion worth of this crap a year, you could pay off the national debt in 16 years. So I don't see where Eleanor gets the gall to say that NATO will never close down, or even what the hell she's thinking. And who is Eleanor Clift, by the way? Eleanor, I think every dog has his day. Not to say you're a dog, but I look at the McLaughlin Group as with Mort Zuckheimer and everything. Mort's definitely a pro-Israeli. You got a couple of right-wingers on there. Buchanan is definitely a Nixon man, and Nixon was a Nazi-loving SOB who was anti-Semitic and helped change the identity of Karl Blessing, a Nazi Reichstag banker, back to say he wasn't really a Nazi, he was just extremely anti-communist so he could get a job in the CIA. Thousands of Nazis who were wanted in Poland and Russia, including SS and Gestapo, that should have been tried at Nuremberg, that were involved in the Holocaust, were smuggled into Fort Hunt, Virginia, and General Reinhard Gehlen, Hitler's master spy against the Soviets, had barrels of microfilm buried in Austrian pastures that he traded for a job in the CIA, that later directed our NATO intelligence. This guy lied to us, told us the Soviets had 175 divisions battle ready to take over Europe, bomb the UK and US, and since Kennedy tried to pull out of Vietnam in '63 and dismantle the CIA, the rumor is that CIA hired 3 ex-Marine snipers to shoot him, and CIA was full of Nazis. So you have to look at it as Galen could have been behind this. is responsible for the interrogation of 4 million Russian POWs who were tortured, starved, and shot. The guy died in '78, but he wrote his memoirs. There's books on him, and definitely there was blowback from this, and they got the Israelis over here looking for Nazis now. They've infiltrated the CIA, and they collect information from NATO easily to get the big picture. They lied to get us in Iraq, and they're lying now about Iran. So now we've got these, Trump is saying Obama made a deal with the Saudis to get oil production up, to get the price down. Then all hell's going to break loose after the election. We haven't declared war since 1941, and the Nazis got us into Korea by saying Truman was soft on communism, and that he'd lost Red China. Truman said, I'll show you how soft on communism I am. I'll invade Korea. Then lost 36,000 guys over there. And then they got Johnson to escalate the Vietnam War, and Nixon really escalated it and bombed Cambodia. Him and Kissinger working together. Undeclared war, we lost another 58,000, the most divisive war, racist war since Vietnam, since the Civil War. And basically the Nazis merged with the right wing of the Republican Party, and Nixon used ethnic Nazi groups to campaign for Dewey, for him and Ike in 52 and 56, for himself in 60, and then of course he lost in 64, but they were working behind the scenes to get Johnson to do their bidding, and he, although was sending federal marshals to help the voting rights down south, he was sending poor blacks and whites over to Vietnam to die. So the space program suffered when Nixon cut the budget, and Nixon's middle name was really Milhausen. Nixon was surrounded himself with Germans. They called it the Berlin Wall. He wasn't just a crook, he was a traitor to the American people. And then Reagan quadrupled the national debt from $1 trillion to $4 trillion, borrowed $8 trillion or $4 trillion in 8 years, and I think he raised the debt level quite a few times while he was in power. Stockman said the 81 budget tax cut was a Trojan horse, and that was the biggest tax cut in U.S. history that cut 90% of the tax base for the U.S. George Washington said if you're going to have an army, you have to print paper money, you're going to have to tax the colonies to bring in revenues to support back up the printed paper money. For these congressmen who say no taxes, no revenues, they're cutting our throats, and so you have to look at them as traitors to the founding fathers. So the only guy talking about going back to the founding fathers is Ron Paul, but he's not talking about the Israelis. He's going to say let the Israelis do what they want to do. Israelis have enough nukes to destroy the Mideast. They've threatened to turn Iran to radioactive desert if Iran retaliates when they bomb their breeder reactors, which they're using to make fuel for their nuclear power plants, so they don't have to buy it on the world market, so they can make electricity for peaceful purposes, so they can sell their oil while we have a 37-year blockade on them, and they can't even buy a car from us. So America's cutting its nose despite its face. Washington says we shouldn't be disfavoring any nation. We shouldn't be favoring any nation. We shouldn't be favoring China or Israel. We shouldn't be disfavoring Russia, Venezuela, or Iran. And by the way, the Israelis are supplying both sides of the civil war in Sri Lanka. They kept the civil war going in Lebanon for 10 years. They are The Mossad doesn't want peace, it wants war or unconditional surrender, and thinks that if there's a peace treaty it will lose some of its weapons systems and all the Arabs will attack. So it had Yitzhak Rabin killed, it had Arafat killed, and it had Sadat killed. And now they want Obama killed. So Eleanor, wake up and smell the coffee, and it's impossible to get through to you on your websites on the internet, and you guys are so isolated in DC, it's crazy. It's ridiculous, including Trump and everybody else who's in their own little world. Trump, by the way, Romney's a Mormon who the Mormons believe when Cain killed Abel, God made him a black man. If you don't think that's a racist religion, then I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'll sell you. I don't think the fundamentalists who didn't vote for Romney the last time he ran will vote the next time he's up. So you can, by the way, Ron Paul will collect delegates behind your back while you're not looking, and writing off Ron Paul right now is a joke. He's the only real child. If he would change, if he really wants to win, Ron Paul should change his party to the Democratic Republican Party of Jefferson and recreate that party, run down the middle, and get 80% of the vote. Obama needs a Democratic challenger. I would do it myself, but I don't want to get assassinated, and I will get in enough trouble for this video. So let's just say it this way: if he brought the traitors to justice, they're deported some of these, close down the Israeli lobby, deport the diplomats, and anyone who's working against us, like Larry Franklin at the Pentagon or whatever. If he's not in uniform and he's working against the country, if he's a spy, he needs to be shot. I'm against the death penalty, but I do believe traitors should be shot. I'm a loyal, patriotic American. I'm not have malice towards none, but I don't like people who are keeping these endless wars going on and killing innocent people. So God help the innocents, and God bless America, and let's get rid of the traitors who have betrayed America and humanity and our allies, including who betrayed the Russians. And God bless the Poles.